Hello everyone, welcome to Honara's Arts and Lifestyle channel. Many of you keep coming back and asking me that what is the kind of paint I usually use for painting the idols. So I just thought of making this video where I introduce various kinds of paint that can be used for an idol painting and what are the positives and negatives of each one of these paints. So before selecting any of the paints, you need to understand what kind of an artist are you. Are you a beginner? Or are you an intermittent, or are you an expert? So just in case, if you are a beginner in terms of painting, then you are most likely going to make a lot of mistakes and you should be able to remove the paint and repaint it. So for that purpose, there are two kinds of paints which are available. The first one is a watercolor paint. Watercolor paints usually will not be that thick, but then you can just remove the paint by dipping cotton in little bit of water and just wiping it with a wet cotton. Okay, the same thing will hold good for poster paints also, but just that the poster paints are going to be a little brighter and it's going to give a velvety finish and it's going to be slightly thick. So in terms of finishing, poster colors are going to look very beautiful. And when you are a beginner, you will have to do a lot of repainting, and until you get it right and until you get a hang of how to paint an idol's eyes and lips, I will always suggest you to either use watercolors or poster colors. You can use any of the brands for that matter. Until now, what I spoke about was for defining the eyes and lips of an idol. But what if you want to paint an entire idol in a different color? Like for example, there will be certain avatars of god or goddess which is going to be in blue color or green color, and you just want to give that same color for the entire body of the idol. So in which case you should be using a paint that will easily go by washing with water. And again, for that there is no other better paint than using poster colors. Irrespective of whether you are a beginner or you are an expert in painting, and if you don't want your idol to be spoiled but yet you want to give a totally different alankaram for the idol, then you should be going for poster colors. And just before painting the entire body with any of the paint for that matter, turn the idol backside and just use the same paint to paint a very small area on the idol and leave it for a few hours. Wash it and see if it is leaving any stain on the idol. If it is not leaving any stain, then you are safe to use that paint throughout the idol. And in case if it is leaving stain, then please do not use that paint at all. Now let us consider that you are neither too good nor too bad in painting. In which case, your paint may turn out very good or it may not turn out very good. Okay. And at the same time, you don't have too much of time to keep repainting every time you wash your idol. In such a case, you need to go for a acrylic paint or a fabric paint. Okay, so acrylic paints are the paints which is going to stay on your idol for a short term. I mean, as soon as you wash it, not all parts of the paint will go. Some parts of the paint will go here and there and you can just give a touch up. And just in case if you want it to go, then you will have to soak your idol in water for a long time, like for about half an hour or 1 hour, and then if you wash it, it will go off. So for all such people who don't have too much of time but still think that there is a possibility of you doing some mistakes or you want to change the painting a little later on, then you can go for acrylic paint. Again, over here, Fevicryl is my favorite brand for acrylic paint also, but there are many other brands which are equally good. Now let us consider that you are an expert and you are really good at painting. And you know that you are never going to have enough time to paint your idols every week or even once in 15 days or even once in a month. So in which case, what you will have to do is you will have to use a paint which is oil based. Until now, whatever paint I told you, whether it is watercolors or poster colors or acrylic paint, they are all water based colors, which means that if you want to make the paint a little thin, then all you need to do is just add a few drops of water and you are going to get the paint in required consistency. And you can even wash off the paint using water. But whereas oil based paints are those which are going to require oil or a thinner to make it thin, and you are going to need a turpentine to wash your brushes. Okay, and it is these oil paints which are going to stay on your idol for a very, very long time. Now the kind of oil colors that I usually use for painting the idols whenever somebody purchases an idol from me, the brand of that paint is Asian Paints Apcolite Premium Gloss Enamel. Okay, so this is the kind of paint that I usually use for my idols. And just a few tips over here, irrespective of which paint you are going to use on the idol, you need to first wash your idol really well, because whenever you purchase a new idol, there is going to be a lot of dust and grease on the idol, okay? Because they are going to do various kinds of polishing on the idol. They will be using some oil based solutions to apply it on the idol so that it doesn't get very dull. So first and the foremost thing you do is you wash the idol with whatever that you need. I suggest that you use little bit of soap also, so that you can remove that layer of oil which is already there on the idol, and pat it dry. And only after the idol is dry, you need to paint the idol. And especially in case if you are going to use these kind of oil paints. Now when I say oil paint, it doesn't have to be Asian paints. You can use any paint which is oil based, like any paints that can be used for painting the doors or the windows in the houses during construction. The same kind of paint can also be used, and it is the same paint that is used for painting the rangolis also on the floor, okay, so that it stays for a longer time. Now you can use these kind of paints to paint the idol, and in case if you want the paint to stay on your idol for a very long time, then you should leave the paint on the idol to get dry for at least 15 days to 1 month. Usually what people do is, as soon as the idol is being painted, probably within a week or so, they again try to wash it, and they try to use the scrub to wash. So in which case the paint wouldn't have stuck on the idol, and the moment you wash it, the paint is going to come out. So after painting the idol, the longer you leave the paint on the idol before washing, that is how strongly it adheres to the idol, okay? And even after washing, it is not going to go completely. It may go in very small tiny patches here and there, for which you can always give a touch up later on. Now just in case if you want this paint also to last longer, then you can use varnish also to apply on that paint. Only on the painted areas, use a 000 brush and start painting it, okay? And you just have to apply 1 coat of varnish, wait for some time for it to dry, and then again apply another coat of varnish. So between each coat of varnish, there should at least be a gap of 1 hour or 2 hours. Like that, if you are able to apply some 3 coats of varnish, then the paint is going to stay much longer, like even for a year or 2 years or something like that. And then you can start maintaining your idols. But when you use varnish, you have to be very careful that the varnish does not come out of the painted areas. If there is even little bit of varnish which is coming out of the painted areas, then that area will start getting black or dull as and when you start using the idol. So you have to be really careful in case if you want to use the varnish. So before you use the oil painting for painting your idols, make sure that you decide on the designs where you want to paint your idol, and only then you use these kind of oil colors, because once you paint it, this oil color painting is not going to come off totally. That is, there will be patches here and there, and if you don't want a certain area, like for example, many people when they purchase a Meenakshi or Andal idol from me, they usually request me to paint the parrot, and I usually don't paint the parrot, because once you paint the parrot and afterwards, after you start washing it, the paint starts coming out in small patches here and there. And later on, if you realize that you don't want the parrot to be painted green, then that paint is never going to go off and it is going to look very ugly. So in case if you are not sure if you want to paint a part of your idol in a certain color, and whether you want it to stay in that particular color for the rest of the life of the idol, then please do not paint it using the oil colors. You can always use fabric colors and all to paint, just in case if you want it for a specific duration of time. So this is all I had to tell you about which paints to use for an idol, and I hope you all have understood this. And before I end this video, please make a note that you have to use only a 00 or a 000 brush, round brush, to paint your idols. You can just walk into any of the bookstores and you should be able to get this in very reasonable amount. It should not cost you more than 10 to 15 rupees per brush, okay? Just buy 2 to 3 brushes, keep it handy and start using it for your paint. So this is all I had to tell you in this video. I hope you all have liked this video. If so, please click on the like button and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to click on the bell icon to get automatic notifications every time I release a new video. Thank you.